Through the mists of time. This is a very thorough look at one of the oldest surviving BBC television Daleks, with parts dating back to 1963. Indeed, the middle section is thought to be from the very first Dalek ever made. This is what has become known as Dalek 1-7. So here it is, probably the most often seen alien monster prop in the classic series of Doctor Who, which started in 1963 and came to an end in 1988. Over the years, this famous Dalek was buried in sand, thrown into a large water tank, and it was even stolen from outside BBC Television Centre and made a feature on Blue Peter. I'm pleased to say it was recovered. It's lasted throughout the years, faced many challenges, and here it is. So I'm going to take it apart for you, show you inside and out, and along the way discuss the history of Dalek 1-7. So at the moment this Dalek is in the configuration as it appeared in its final Doctor Who serial, which was Remembrance of the Daleks, with Sylvester McCoy as the Doctor. So I'm going to start by taking the lid off, the dome, the top, whatever you'd like to call it. And you will quickly see that we have a control arm attached to it. This was how the operator would make the flashing lights function. A little switch here. There we go. Also, this was the way he made the dome revolve when needed. We look inside, we can see the number 2 here. That's actually telling us that this came from one of the other Remembrance of the Daleks props, prop number 2, funnily enough. Little battery attached here. In the series they sometimes had the batteries in the top of the dome, but there you go. So let's put that to one side and move to the next section. Okay, so now we come to the neck section, which we can lift up. It's just resting on 4 dowel rods there, and you can see the metal cage on the outside. Let me just shift position. There you go. You can see the metal exterior cage. On the inside there is a additional material to try and obscure the Dalek operator's head, basically, so he couldn't be seen during filming. In a few episodes you can see the operator, but that's just the way things went. They have very little time in studio, and it wasn't always possible to get perfection, but they did their best and they did a very good job. So now we come to perhaps the most historic part of this Dalek, the middle section, the part which holds the gun arm and the plunger arm boxes. And this is thought to be from the very first Dalek built for the BBC by Shawcraft Models in the UK back in the early 1960s. And the reason that Dalek experts who know far more about these things than me recognise this fact is because the first Dalek built had this very thin metal collar at the front, which widens out on the sides. But it's the thinness of this part which identifies this Dalek and makes it possible to track it through the years, through the series. Quite a bit of history there. And of course it's no longer seated on the original skirt section of Dalek 1 because the BBC chopped and changed. Daleks could be interchangeable. You could have a different skirt and a different middle, vice versa. Same with the heads, the necks and the domes. Let's take this one off resting on dowel rods and pop it down on the ground. So here's a peep inside the Dalek, so you can see the two main controls, the gun arm on the left and the plunger arm on the right. But it might be interesting to have a look at the bottom of the original 1963 section of the Dalek. Here it is. So the wood you're looking at dates back to 1963. All things considered, it hasn't aged too badly considering the treatment it's been given over the years. So I'll just swing it around for you if I can in a probably less than graceful way. It weighs a lot. Right, one more turn. There we go. And hopefully that will come to rest nicely. And there we can see the broom handle for the plunger arm. Doesn't do anything, doesn't go anywhere. It's all sealed in because they never extended the plunger arms after the 1980s. And the gun arm there. Now this skirt section, as we call it, the skirt and the base, it was made by Shawcraft Models, the same company, but later it was made during Patrick Troughton's era as the Doctor and made its first appearance in The Chase. And if we swing it around, you can see one of the key identifiers of this Dalek. The fact that you'll notice that the hemispheres are not in line. They in fact resemble the Daleks you may have seen on the big screen in the two Peter Cushing movies, because they were also made by Shawcraft and they were made using the same technique as was used to construct this Dalek. Now, if I remove a hemisphere, these are just covers that were put on for remembrance of the Daleks, you can see some of the history lying beneath. Because here we can see, I've put a little bit of Velcro on just to keep these caps on, but these are original 1965 Shawcraft fiberglass hemispheres, inserted through round holes cut into the base, so pushed through and sealed in with fiberglass on the other side. And we can take a look at the inside of this back section right now. And here you can see some remnants of the foam, this orange crumbly residue here. This would have been all around the inside of the casing to protect the operator. It's a foam which the BBC carried on using right up until into the 1980s, in fact, because you'll also find it inside the heads of Cybermen to cushion the actor wearing the helmet. The Robots of Death, I have a helmet, or rather a head from that, which has the same foam included. But sometime in the 1980s, someone at Health and Safety said, we must stop using that foam. Inside bench seat here, and this central column, which I've reinstated. All the Daleks had this. It helps the operator, because he'd have his knees either side of it, helps the operator to move the Dalek around by just applying pressure to that really strong central bolt. There's the very simple wooden chair, not the original one, but it would have been very near identical to that, and the operator would have cushioning and would have had padding all around the inside to protect himself from the jagged edges, fiberglass and various other things inside. So here is the final appearance of Dalek 17 in Doctor Who. There it is in the centre, with a brief speaking part with lights flashing. Then it turns and disappears. As I ease myself into the skirt section of Dalek 7, I'd like to thank you for watching. Hopefully you found a few bits and pieces of interest. If you'd like me to do more videos about props, which I own, then leave a comment. But I thought I should start with one that's at the very top of my collection, even though I appear to be ending up sitting in the bottom of one. This prop, Dalek 17, is now on display at the National Motor Museum in Beaulieu in Hampshire, in the lovely New Forest. So well worth a visit.